Welcome to Reddit Confessions.
I edited their cheating confessions into one final episode and uploaded it to our 2 million listeners. But that came later, before the revenge, before the internet meltdown, before Spotify dropped them like rotten fruit and Jared's PR team started clawing through hell for a statement that wouldn't make him look like a therapy predator. It started with a mistake. Claire's mistake. Not the affair. That came earlier. No, this mistake was dumber. She forgot to delete the raw tape. My name's Noah Monroe. I'm a sound engineer, the man behind the voice. If you've ever listened to Couples Unfiltered, you've heard my work. Every crisp transition, every breathy confession, every perfectly timed piano swell. That's me. Claire, my wife, is the voice. Claire Monroe, therapist, influencer, host of a wildly successful relationship podcast. Articulate, magnetic, always camera ready. People love her because she sounds like she knows how to love. And Jared King, her co-host, plays the soulful sidekick, the emotionally evolved man, Twitter's favorite soft boy. He gazes at her like she invented vulnerability. Our life? From the outside, perfect. From the inside, curated. We lived in a Manhattan apartment with clean white walls and big windows. Shared a Google Calendar, not secrets. At least, that's what I thought. Until that night. I was organizing archived episodes, just clearing space, when I stumbled on a file I didn't recognize. Rec_Mike_4, late cut. Wave. No intro music. No segments. Just static, then voices. Claire, you left your phone in the other room again. Jared. Because I trust you not to text your husband pretending to be me. Claire laughed. Jared's voice dropped lower. Maybe I should. Tell him the truth for once. Claire, don't. Jared. If only your husband knew what we do after we press stop. I sat there, headphones on, screen glowing, trying to breathe through the fog in my head. Rewind. Replay. Same line. Same betrayal. They didn't know the mics were still live. Rookie mistake. But I knew that breath between words. I knew the tone Claire only used when she wanted someone to think she wasn't dangerous. That night, I copied the file to a private drive. Then I opened the full project folder, not the polished episodes, the raw sessions. The behind-the-scenes audio where they let their real selves slip out. I started listening. Hours of content. Jared flirting like a teenager. Claire giggling in ways I hadn't heard in years, at least not from her side of the bed. That's when I created the folder. Evidence. Inside it, I dragged every file she never thought I'd hear. Every whispered lie. Every moment where I faded into the background, just a ghost behind the mixer board. Claire came home late. Post-production meeting, she said, breezing in like the queen of emotional wellness. She kissed the top of my head like I was a child. Like I was nobody. I stared at my screen. Pretended I was working on reverb levels. My fingers labeled another file. Session_23_eyes don't lie. Wave. She yawned. You're up late. Just tweaking levels. She stretched, bones cracking. You're the best, babe. And she went to bed. While she slept, I listened. Not as her editor. Not as her husband. But as the man she forgot was always listening. She forgot the golden rule of podcasting. The mic is always listening. The next day, I called in sick. Not because I was sick. Because I couldn't sit in a studio with Jared King's voice buzzing in my headphones without imagining his mouth on my wife. Instead, I stayed home. Coffee black. Curtains drawn. Headphones on. Every audio file Claire had left behind played like a ghost confession. Nothing explicit. Not yet. Just tension. Thick, slow burning, unmistakable. Her laugh, softer when it was just him. Jared's pauses, like he wanted to say more, but didn't need to. The silence said enough. And I kept listening. Not because I wanted to. Because I had to. Every file pulled back another curtain. Another smile that wasn't for me. Another breath she held when he leaned too close. But then came the worst one. It was a late-night recording. Off schedule. No calendar invite. No post about it. Just a raw track labeled Session_private. Mic 2. Wave. Jared. You ever feel bad about this? Claire. About what? Jared. Lying to him. Claire. Don't say it like that. Jared. How should I say it? Claire. He's comfortable. Safe. That's why I married him. But you make me feel. Jared. Alive. Claire. Whisper. Dangerous. My headphones slipped off my ears. I couldn't breathe. That's when I realized something. She wasn't hiding this from me because she was afraid of hurting me. She was hiding it because I wasn't important enough to worry about. To Claire, I was just the guy behind the curtain. The one who made sure her voice sounded perfect while she rehearsed emotions she didn't feel at home anymore. That night, I started cataloging everything. Every file. Every flirtation. Every audio tick that gave them away. Flirting? Timestamped. Whispers? Enhanced. Lies? Highlighted. And when I finished, I renamed the folder on my external drive. Playback. The truth. Claire kissed me goodnight like nothing was wrong. Big interview with the Gottmans tomorrow, she mumbled against my cheek. I nodded. You'll kill it. And I smiled while imagining how their fans would react if they ever heard the real Claire. Not the filtered one. Not the emotionally evolved expert in attachment theory. The real one. The one who giggled when her co-host called her mine. The one who said I was comfortable. By Friday, I had everything. All the sessions. All the evidence. Even the deleted ones. Because Claire didn't realize I'd mirrored her cloud login 6 months ago when she asked me to optimize her backups. I made a copy. Then another. Stored one in the cloud. One on a flash drive in the bottom of my toolkit. One on an encrypted server only I could access. Not paranoia. Just precision. They think I'm passive. Quiet. Forgettable. But I'm a sound engineer. I work in silence. And silence, when you know how to use it, is louder than any scream. Claire texted me while I was indexing her files. Love you. Thank you for supporting me always. I couldn't do this without you. See, I stared at the message. Then I opened a new folder inside, Playback, The Truth. Named it, Final Episode. No rush. I wasn't just exposing them. I was going to produce the most devastating episode in podcast history. They kept laughing into the mic, never realizing I was already editing their downfall. I didn't stop them. Not yet. See, Claire's biggest mistake wasn't the affair. It was thinking I wouldn't notice the shift in tone. The way she started pausing when Jared interrupted her. The way she leaned in closer to his mic than mine. The way she talked to him in studio and through me at home. But I didn't explode. I didn't confront. I did what I do best. I listened. I adjusted levels. And I made their little love fest sound pristine, while I quietly dismantled it from the inside. Our studio was downtown. Trendy, expensive. All glass walls and mood lighting. The kind of place that makes people feel important. Jared loved it. Called it the temple. Claire said it gave her clarity. Funny how both those words would rot in their mouths soon. That morning, I showed up early. I adjusted their mic placements. Tilted the arm on Jared's setup by a 1/4 inch so it would creak slightly when he moved. Switched his lav mic frequency so it'd crackle under pressure. Just enough to sound like cheap gear. Just enough to make him doubt himself. They came in like always, laughing too loud, sharing coffee, pretending they weren't screwing each other on borrowed time. Jared, yo, you mess with my mic again, man? It's all weird today. I smiled. Could be interference. I'll check it. Claire looked at me, then at Jared. You sure your tech brain isn't just hungover? Jared chuckled. Paranoid producer. She laughed, and I recorded every second. That episode was supposed to be about communication and trust. They took live questions from fans. Talked about how micro-betrayals erode relationships. Said secrets were like cracks in drywall. You don't notice them until the whole wall caves in. Jared said, if you're hiding something from your partner, ask yourself who you're really protecting. Claire smiled at that. Touched his knee under the table. They thought they were clever. I was already drafting the outro for their funeral. Later, as I cleaned up, Jared stuck around. Claire went to the bathroom. He stood in the booth, stretching, checking his phone, running his hand through his hair like he was on camera. He looked at me through the glass, grinned. You sure your husband's not listening in? He joked. Loud enough to be caught on every mic. Claire, walking back in, heard him. She laughed. Not nervously. Not guilty. Just entertained. They weren't afraid of me. That made them sloppy. I took the raw footage home. Edited the real episode for upload. Clean, tight, branded. Then I opened a different project file, my version. Not for fans. For me. I looped Jared's joke 3 times. You sure your husband's not listening in? You sure your husband's not listening in? You sure your husband's not listening in? Then I cut in Claire's laugh. Overlaid it with their episode on infidelity. Matched waveforms. Made the irony echo like a bomb. I wasn't ready to release it. But I was building it. Piece by piece. Track by track. At dinner that night, Claire said, Jared thinks we should hire a second producer. Expand the team. Get more help with editing. I stabbed my fork into a roasted carrot. Why? She shrugged. Just feels like the show's growing. Too much for one person, maybe. Or maybe Jared's nervous about what one person might hear. Her eyes flicked up, met mine for a split second. Then she laughed. You're so weird sometimes. I smiled. And you're so predictable. She didn't respond. I chewed slowly, imagining her face when the episode drops. They called it vulnerability. I called it foreplay with a mic on. Episode 62 was about emotional honesty, which was funny, considering I had Jared on tape 2 nights earlier saying, "Sometimes I think she's addicted to the drama. Like, she needs a man to chase her just to feel real." Claire didn't disagree. She just whispered, "Good thing you're a fast runner." I kept that clip. I kept everything. Because if you ever want to know who someone really is, don't read their bio. Don't look at their follower count. Listen to what they say when they think no one's recording. That morning, I adjusted the booth lighting, dimmed it slightly, boosted the warmth on Claire's mic channel. I wanted her voice to sound lush. Seductive, even. If they were going to play this game, I'd give them the stage they deserved. Claire wore that silk blouse, the one I bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. Jared noticed. "Damn, see," he said, sitting down. "That for the fans, or just for me?" She didn't answer, just smiled, and hit record. "Claire, let's talk about temptation." Jared, oof. Starting heavy. Claire, it's part of emotional honesty, right? Jared, depends who you're tempted by. Claire, and what you do if no one ever found out. I watched through the glass. Jared leaning forward. Claire biting her lip between sentences. I kept my face blank. But inside, I was already cutting the episode into sections. Section A, the public script. Empathetic, polished, therapist approved. Section B, the undertones. Breathy laughs. Long pauses. A subtle moan when Jared brushed her arm. Section C, the sabotage. My addition. At home, I inserted barely noticeable layers under their track. You'd never hear them consciously, but your brain would feel them. Jared's sighs from a different session. Claire's giggle from that private recording. Spliced into the pauses of their dialogue. Planted like landmines. The sexual tension didn't just exist anymore. I produced it. I made it undeniable. 3 days later, the episode went live. It hit the charts in an hour. By sunset, Reddit threads were already popping up. One post had 800 upvotes before midnight. Am I crazy, or are Claire and Jared, like, seriously into each other? Emotional affairs anon. Another had screenshots from a fan edit. Claire laughing. Jared watching her like she was dessert. Hashtag couples unfiltered. Hashtag unfiltered chemistry. Hashtag Claire and Jared. In the studio, I pretended not to notice. But Claire noticed. She showed me a meme the next morning. Her and Jared photoshopped into a wedding photo, complete with podcast mics and flower crowns. Fans are wild, she said, smiling. Must be doing something right. I replied, not looking up. Jared slid into the booth with a grin that said he loved the attention. Claire leaned back in her chair, smug. This could be our biggest season ever. I smiled, because she was absolutely right. I didn't need to expose them. Reddit did it for me. By the end of the week, the fan theories weren't just speculation. They were investigations. Thread after thread dissecting every glance, every laugh, every accidental touch. Twitter clips went viral. TikTok's layered slow zooms with breakup songs. One fan slowed down a moment where Jared reached for Claire's water bottle, captioned it. He touches her like he owns her. Another posted a compilation of Claire's giggles next to scenes from The Office. Pam and Jim falling in love behind a front desk. But my favorite? A meme that went everywhere. Top, we're just co-hosts. Bottom, Claire giggling like she's about to risk it all on a therapy couch. The internet saw it. I didn't even have to push it. All I did was turn up the volume on the truth. Jared leaned into it. Of course he did. Started wearing tighter shirts. Letting his beard grow out. Called Claire C on air like it was some pet name only he had rights to. Claire didn't shut it down. She played coy. Smiled a lot. Called their dynamic complex. Said fans were projecting onto our chemistry. But I'd seen her phone light up at 1:14 a.m. Jared read heart. Babe, they love us. I didn't open it. Didn't need to. I was in control of every sound wave they rode to fame. One night, I edited a clip together. Claire laughing. Jared saying, "You're trouble." Overlaid with the line from episode 42 where Claire claimed, Emotional affairs are just as damaging as physical ones. I didn't post it. Someone else did. A fan with a podcast commentary channel. It hit 500,000 views in 24 hours. Claire watched it while we were eating dinner. She paused halfway through, fingers hovering over her wine glass. People are so quick to make something out of nothing, she said, without looking at me. I shrugged. They're just reading what you gave them. Her eyes met mine, just for a second. Then she smiled. Maybe we're finally interesting. In the next episode, Jared started referring to their dynamic as podcast intimacy. Claire didn't flinch. She rolled with it. Said, sometimes your co-host just gets you in a way your partner doesn't. Jared laughed. Claire laughed. I cut the episode. Left it untouched. Let the full implication breathe. That night, I opened the playback, the truth folder. Dragged in 3 new files, each labeled with dates and corresponding private whispers. Then I opened a new project. Title, The Final Cut. I wasn't ready to publish yet, but I had the opening line. This is the story of how a podcast built on emotional honesty lied to all of you. While she recorded episodes about trust, I was watching her walk into a hotel with him. I never wanted to become that guy. You know, the one checking phone records, zooming in on timestamps, hiring someone to follow his wife like he's in a bad Netflix drama. But Claire made me that guy. Or maybe she just reminded me I'd always been quiet enough to be overlooked and smart enough to weaponize it. Her schedule was busy. That wasn't new. Speaking panels, brand meetings, influencer wellness brunches that looked like softcore marketing orgies. Jared was always there, conveniently. Just co-hosts. Just friends. Just 2 people nurturing a brand. I checked her iCloud calendar. A trip to DC for a relationship retreat. I smiled, because I already had the hotel. Jake, the PI, sent me the photos like clockwork. Ocean View Hotel, Washington, D.C. Room 1711. Claire. Jared. No masks. No disguises. Just desire on their sleeves and nothing to hide, because they truly believed no one was watching. First photo. Claire in a black trench coat. Jared holding the room key. Second. Jared's hand on her lower back. Third. Them kissing in the elevator. Not on the lips. On the neck. The kind of kiss that doesn't care who's watching, because they thought no one ever would. I didn't get angry. I got quiet. And then I got to work. At home, I sat in my studio and opened a new session file. Imported the hotel photos. Then I imported their words. Those cozy, fake, performative words from the podcast episodes about boundaries, marriage, betrayal. Overlapping timelines. Cutting between a photo of Jared's hand on her thigh and Claire saying, once trust is broken, it's very hard to rebuild. Cut to another clip. Jared. Cheating isn't always physical. Sometimes the emotional intimacy is worse. Cut to photo. Jared pulling Claire into the hotel room. Then silence. I let it breathe. Then I dropped in my own voice for the first time. This is what betrayal sounds like. Unfiltered. Unedited. Undeniable. I titled the project, Playback, The Truth. 15 minutes. Raw. Brutal. Beautiful. Not just receipts, a reckoning. I scheduled it. Friday, 8 p.m. Prime time. Their audience, 2 million listeners. Their stage. The very platform they built on trust, transparency, and thinly veiled lies. I was going to give them one last episode. A finale. They just didn't know they were the ones being interviewed. She fake cried for the audience, while I laid her real tears beneath it. Live taping days were Claire's favorite. She called it emotional theater. I called it what it was, a carefully choreographed striptease. But instead of clothes, she peeled back vulnerability, just enough to sell the illusion. The fans ate it up, cried with her, thanked her, worshipped her for being bravely broken. But this time, I was part of the show. It was a Friday. Claire wore a soft beige sweater that made her eyes look bigger. No eyeliner. Just mascara. Deliberately smudged by accident. Jared came in late. Scruffy. Unshaven. Trying for that raw authenticity look. Like heartbreak made him hotter. The topic? When trust is shattered. How couples rebuild after betrayal. Claire sat in front of the mic like a martyr. I want to talk about something personal, she said, voice trembling. I rolled audio. Cameras. Stream. Everything live. I haven't felt safe in my own relationship lately, she said. There've been secrets. Doubts. I've felt invisible. Tears welled in her eyes. The audience? Dead quiet. She's so strong. Someone whispered from the crowd. But me? I was at the console, feeding in the real story. Under Claire's speech, I layered past clips. From private recordings. Things never meant for the audience. Claire laughing with Jared about playing it safe. Claire whispering. Noah doesn't ask because he doesn't want to know. A subtle bleed of the truth underneath the performance. She kept talking. I think we all wear masks in relationships. But the longer we wear them, the harder it is to remember what our real face looks like. I cut in Jared's voice. From a deleted session. You don't wear a mask with me. That's why you come back. It barely registered to the casual listener. Just ambience. A breath here. A voice in the static. But for anyone paying attention, it was a bomb. After the show, Claire came up to the booth. Eyes still red. Nose pink. She looked the part. You okay? I asked, pretending. She nodded. Yeah. Just raw. That one hit close. I wanted to laugh. But I just looked at her. Let silence stretch. Why are you looking at me like that? She asked, a little too sharp. No reason, I said. You were great. She smiled. And I realized it was her most convincing performance yet. Back home, I finalized the episode. Cut the live crowd noise. Kept the raw track. Let her fake tears run while her real lies whispered beneath. Then I added my closing monologue. My voice, calm, measured, unmissable. Sometimes, the people who teach us about healing are the ones who hurt us the most. Sometimes, what sounds like vulnerability is just a performance. This is the playback they never meant you to hear. And I scheduled it. Friday, 8 p.m. Sharp. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just produced the truth and let it speak for itself. It was quiet in the studio that night. Not a sound but the soft hum of my monitor. Claire was at some influencer dinner, bragging about how raw she'd been during the live show. Jared was probably in her DMs, telling her how proud he was. That she was so brave. Meanwhile, I was in our booth. Alone. Focused. Calm. I'd done my job. 15 minutes of audio. No intro music. No ads. No fake laughter. Just their voices. Cut. Arranged. Laid bare. A timeline of betrayal. It started with a soft hum. Then a clip of Claire's voice from the early days. This podcast is about truth. If we don't have that, we have nothing. Then it shifted. To her giggles with Jared when she thought the mic was off. To the hotel key jingle. To the sigh in Jared's voice when he said, "You feel more like mine than his." Then silence. Then Claire's emotional honesty monologue from episode 62, while I bled in whispers from her late-night recordings. I didn't scream. Didn't accuse. Didn't narrate. I produced. Midway through, I dropped in one of her most viral quotes, where she told a caller, "If someone lies to you and says it was to protect your feelings, they weren't protecting you. They were protecting themselves from your reaction." That line alone would be enough to turn their audience against them. But I wasn't done. At the 12-minute mark, I dropped the bomb. Claire's voice, raw and reckless from a never-released private tape. Sometimes I think I'd leave Noah if it wasn't so complicated. But Jared? He makes me feel alive. And then Jared. You should have married me instead. And then Claire. Maybe I still can. Cut. Fade to silence. Then I came in. My voice. For the first time. This is what betrayal sounds like. You've been listening to Couples Unfiltered, but here's the truth they never told you. The voices you trusted lied to you. But don't worry. I recorded everything. I uploaded the file. Titled it simply, Playback, the Truth. Set the episode to publish across all platforms. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, everywhere their fans waited for the next hit of authenticity. And then I stared at the screen for a long time. It asked me, "Are you sure you want to publish?" I clicked yes. No explosion. No warning sirens. Just a soft progress bar. And then, the silence that follows pulling a pin. At 8:02 p.m., my phone buzzed. A Reddit thread already up. WTF did I just listen to? At 8:07 p.m., Twitter clips. Fan reactions. Live reactions. At 8:14 p.m., hashtag Playback the Truth was trending in 3 countries. At 8:21 p.m., Claire's Instagram went dark. By 8:36 p.m., Jared posted a story, black screen, just the text. "This is taken out of context." Too late, Jared. This was the context. The final cut. Clean. Sharp. Surgical. I didn't confront them. I published them. The truth didn't just go viral, it detonated. I watched it unfold from the quiet of my apartment. One light on. Curtains drawn. Coffee gone cold. No champagne. No smug grin. Just me, silent, as their empire collapsed in real time. By 9:15 p.m., the episode had over 600,000 plays. By 9:40, playback. The truth hit #1 on Apple Podcasts. By 10 o'clock, Spotify removed their show from the front page. Pending review. I didn't promote it. The fans did that for me. Reddit was on fire. So we've been listening to a cheating arc for a full season? Claire Monroe, therapist, influencer, professional liar. Jared is a manipulative fraud pretending to be emotionally intelligent. Classic predator behavior. Then came the screen recordings. Claire flirting in the booth. Jared's hand on her back in episode 58. Her fake tears from the live show, cut side by side with her private laugh. Someone slowed down the audio where she said, "Noah doesn't ask because he doesn't want to know." They added captions. Noah did ask. He just waited for the perfect moment to reply. I didn't post anything. Didn't speak. Didn't gloat. I let their voices do the work. Because when you build a brand around honesty and get caught lying, people don't forgive you. They hunt you. By midnight, sponsors were pulling out. BetterHelp dropped them first. Then Squarespace. Then 2 wellness brands Claire had tattooed across every video like gospel. The comments were brutal. Cheating on your husband while giving therapy advice is wild. Why are all these wellness experts the most toxic people alive? She called her husband safe and cheated with a man who wears bracelets. I'll admit it. That one made me laugh. At 12:34 a.m., Jared posted a selfie video. Dark hoodie. No music. Sad boy lighting. Hey, everyone. Just want to say, a lot of what's circulating has been taken out of context. The podcast was always about real emotions. Claire and we connected on a level that was raw, but we never meant to hurt anyone. The top comment? You weren't raw. You were just reckless. It had 16,000 likes in an hour. Claire didn't post. She didn't tweet. Didn't comment. Didn't defend. She went silent. But I knew her. That silence wasn't guilt. It was calculation. She was waiting to see if there was a way to spin this. A new narrative. A redemption arc. She didn't realize. There's no coming back from a mic that caught you cheating on 2 million people. I lay in bed, finally. Not happy. Not proud. Just still. Her ringtone buzzed around 2:18 a.m. I let it ring. Then ring again. Then stop. And I stared at the ceiling, thinking, this was never about revenge. It was about letting the world hear what I'd been hearing for months. Unfiltered. Unedited. Unforgivable. She banged on the studio door, sobbing, and I turned up the soundproofing. She showed up at 9:46 a.m. No makeup. No camera-ready smile. Just puffy eyes, a hoodie pulled over her head, and a desperation I hadn't seen since her mom's funeral. She banged on the studio door like the building was on fire. "Noah," she cried. "Please, open the door. We need to talk." I sat at the console, headphones on, watching the waveform of her voice spike through the glass. She didn't know it yet, but I was already recording. Not to release. Just for me. Because when someone finally breaks after months of lying, they never realize how honest their begging sounds. She paced outside for 10 minutes, then slid to the floor and cried. I watched unmoved. She performed pain so well on mic. Maybe this was just another take. Eventually, I spoke through the intercom. "I'm working. Noah, please. I didn't mean for it to get this far." But it did. Her breath caught. "We can fix this." I leaned into the mic, voice flat. "You don't fix a house that's already burned down. You bulldoze it." Then I turned off the speaker and went back to editing next week's episode. Across town, Jared went live on Instagram. Black hoodie again. That same moody lighting. But this time, he wasn't sad. He was angry. "Y'all really think I'm the villain here? You think Claire was some victim of my manipulation? She came to me. She needed something Noah couldn't give her. Y'all don't know the full story." He smiled. The smug kind. "People want to cancel me? Go ahead. But don't pretend like you wouldn't trade places with me." She wanted more. And I gave it to her. That clip went viral within the hour. By dinner, fans had nicknamed him the therapy predator. The comments got nasty. "You just ended your career with that live, bro. Imagine cheating with a co-host and still acting like a victim." This is why emotional intelligence shouldn't be marketed like skincare. I didn't say a word. Didn't like. Didn't share. But I watched. Because sometimes revenge doesn't need a final act. Sometimes it just needs an audience. At 7:03 p.m., Claire's agent dropped her. I know because she left a voicemail. Claire, your image is unrepairable right now. Every brand has pulled out. We can reassess in a year, maybe. She didn't call back. She didn't come back to the door. But I knew where she went. Her sister's. Same place she hid out after our first real fight. The one where I said I was tired of being edited out of my own life. That night, I slept. First real sleep in months. No audio looping in my head. No Jared's voice haunting the booth. No Claire rehearsing vulnerability to the mirror before the next honest recording. Just quiet. And me. Finally, alone, but free. I filed for divorce, with a press release. I didn't serve her quietly. No backdoor paperwork. No private apologies. No hope of fixing what she shattered with a smirk and a mic. I filed for divorce at 9 a.m. on a Monday. At 9:01, a press release hit the inbox of every outlet that had ever written about couples unfiltered. I value honesty more than downloads. That's why I'm done. Noah Monroe. Short. Sharp. It trended within the hour. Claire's publicist begged for a delay. Let's wait. Let emotions cool. Maybe frame it as a mutual step back. But I wasn't cooling anything. This wasn't mutual. It was surgical. She cheated. She lied. She built a brand on trust and burned it for dopamine and fake intimacy. Now she'd live in the ashes. The fan base cracked wide open. Half of them turned on her. You don't cheat on your editor husband while preaching communication. That's villain origin story energy. Can't wait for Jared's OnlyFans next week. The other half tried to defend her. Women aren't perfect. She's still a great therapist. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes? She made a series of calculated, audio-recorded decisions, each more selfish than the last. And now, even her defenders were starting to flinch. 2 hours later, Claire posted a photo. A gray sky. No caption. Just the usual sad aesthetic, overexposed and underexplained. But the comments weren't buying it. No one's falling for your sad girl lighting anymore. Turn off the filters. Try telling the truth for once. She didn't respond. She just turned off the comments and deleted half her previous posts. But it was too late. The internet remembers everything. That afternoon, my email pinged. Netflix. They wanted a call. Not for an interview. For a show. A podcast-turned-documentary about emotional deception, digital betrayal, and using truth as revenge. They called it Playback, Season 2, The Anatomy of a Public Affair. They asked if I wanted to host. I didn't answer right away, but I smiled for the first time in weeks. He launched his solo podcast. 4 people tuned in, and one of them was me. He couldn't stay quiet forever. Jared always needed an audience, even if it was just his reflection. So a week after the truth dropped, and the world stopped pretending he was emotionally evolved, he announced it. New podcast coming soon. Raw. Real. Just me. The trailer hit YouTube first. Black screen. Heavy breathing. His voice, overdramatic. This isn't about gossip. It's about growth. Sometimes you have to burn down the truth to rebuild your identity. The top comment? You cheated on your friend's wife, and then cried into a mic sit down. It had 31,000 likes before breakfast. The podcast dropped 2 days later. Title, Reframed. Host, Jared King. Format, Solo Therapy. Stream of consciousness. Pity in high definition. I listened. Of course I did. All 22 minutes of him blaming me, blaming Claire, blaming society for idolizing perfection. He called me a manipulative editor with a revenge kink. He called Claire a complicated woman who loved too many people at once. He called the truth a matter of perspective. Only 4 people were in the comments. One said, "This is giving gaslight." Another just wrote, "Bro." And the last one? That was me. I typed. Sometimes a mic catches more than a voice. It catches who you really are. He deleted the episode the next day. Meanwhile, Claire tried her own pivot. Mental health advocacy. New branding. New buzzwords. New desperation. She did an IG live from her living room floor. Blanket wrapped. Candles lit. Voice trembling. What I did wasn't okay. But I'm growing. Healing. We all deserve the chance to rewrite our narrative. She paused for dramatic effect. And I'm starting a support group for women who've made mistakes in love. The comments weren't kind. Girl, this isn't a rom-com. You cheated on your husband and lied to 2 million people. You didn't fall. You jumped into Jared's bed. By morning, she had to lock her account. I, on the other hand, uploaded something else. A new trailer. Clean graphics. Sharp music. Simple title. Playback, Season 2. Voiceover me. What happens after betrayal? After the lies? After the world hears the truth? You keep the mic on and start listening to others. The response? Overwhelming. DMs flooded in. Stories. Pain. Revenge plans. People who'd been cheated on, ghosted, lied to. People who wanted a voice. A platform. A safe place to expose the double lives they'd survived. One caught my eye. The first guest for Season 2. Jared's ex-girlfriend. She'd heard the episode. She had things to say, and I had a mic waiting for her. Turns out, I wasn't the only one with recordings, and now everyone wants to press play. Season 2 dropped on a Tuesday. Not with a bang. Not with drama. Just a slow, steady wave of pain turned into power. The episode was called The Pattern. Guest, Sophie K., full name redacted, until she chose to say it, 36 minutes in. My name's Sophie Klein. I dated Jared for 2 years. He cheated, gaslit me, told me I was paranoid. Then I heard him call Claire dangerous in that leaked episode. That's when I knew he used the same script on both of us. Her voice didn't shake. She'd had time to practice. She brought receipts, texts, voicemails. One call she recorded without telling him. His voice, slurry and smug, bragging about finally getting Claire to open up. It wasn't a podcast. It was evidence. By the time the episode ended, #PlaybackConfessionals was trending. Spotify refeatured the show. BuzzFeed called it the most honest podcast of the year. Variety called it weaponized healing and a new media genre. The inbox exploded. People wanted to talk. Not influencers. Not therapists. Regular people. Wives, husbands, girlfriends, brothers, best friends. All of them with the same thing. A story they'd never told. And now? They had a mic episode 2. A woman whose fiancé cheated on her the day before their wedding. Episode 3. A man who found out his wife had a second family, one town over. Episode 4. A polyamorous couple exposing the therapist who slept with both of them, while billing them separately. Each story raw, messy, real. No ads. No sponsors. Just voices. And silence in between, when the truth settled like dust in your lungs. I didn't host like Claire. I didn't guide. I didn't polish. I listened. And when I spoke, it was just this. I know what it feels like to think you're crazy, only to find out you were just being lied to. I started getting recognized. At coffee shops. In DMs. Even once on the subway. You're the playback guy, someone whispered. That episode saved me. I never planned on being a voice. I was just the one they forgot was always listening. But now they were listening to me. And still, Claire stayed quiet. No posts. No tweets. Just silence. But I knew she was watching. Watching her fans become mine. Watching her platform become a stage for the very pain she pretended to fix. She hadn't reached out since the divorce filing. Until now. One message. 11:02 p.m. Was this your plan all along? No, hi. No, how could you? Just that. I stared at it for a long time. Then typed. You gave me the content. I just gave it context. And I left it at that. She tried to rebrand herself, but some stains don't come out. She didn't go down in one loud crash. It was slower than that. More tragic. Like watching someone try to rebuild a house on top of ashes, refusing to admit it already burned. Claire reemerged 2 weeks after Playback. Season 2 premiered. A new Instagram bio. Mental health advocate. Storyteller. Still healing. She dropped a Notes app apology. To anyone I hurt, I'm sorry. I lost myself in my work, in my feelings, in a version of myself I didn't fully understand. I never intended to lie, but I did. I'm committed to growth, and to making space for others to grow too. Claire, the comments weren't forgiving. You weren't lost, you were calculated. You lied for profit. Now you're just trying to rebrand the betrayal. Your ex made honesty cool. You just made it profitable. Even the influencers who used to collab with her stayed silent. She was radioactive now. She tried YouTube next. Sat on a couch, crying softly into a throw pillow that matched her new aesthetic. This isn't about blaming anyone. Not Noah. Not Jared. Not the internet. This is about taking accountability. She paused, looked off camera, then delivered her final line, perfectly framed. I just want to be allowed to heal too. That video was titled Healing is Hard. The top comment? So is telling the truth the first time. It had 72,000 likes in 24 hours. The The sponsorships never came back. She launched a course called Rebuilding Self-Trust After Public Mistakes. No one signed up. She pitched a new podcast, platforms passed. The PR team she hired lasted 3 weeks before dropping her. One magazine reached out. Wanted to do a Where Are They Now piece on the scandal. She declined. Said she wanted to move forward, not relive trauma. But here's the thing about public platforms. You don't get to choose when the story ends. I saw her once more. By accident. A grainy photo in the sidebar of a gossip site. Disheveled. Sunglasses on. Coffee in hand. No smile. Caption read: Claire Monroe seen in Brooklyn, still rebuilding. I stared at the photo for a while. I didn't feel triumph. Not hate. Just nothing. Because the truth is, I didn't destroy her. She did that herself. I just edited the footage. Forgiveness is optional. Honesty isn't. I recorded the final episode on a Sunday morning. No guests. No music. Just my voice. I didn't write a script. I didn't need one. Because when the truth's been dragging behind you long enough, eventually, it catches up. And when it does, you don't need to explain it. You just let it speak. I'm not here to retell the whole story, I said. You already heard it. In their voices. In their contradictions. In the silence between their lies. I didn't start this to hurt anyone. I started this because I realized the people preaching truth were the ones hiding the most. And I stayed quiet for too long. Pause. Deep breath. But here's the thing. Forgiveness? That's optional. You don't owe it to anyone. Especially the people who turned your pain into content. But honesty? Honesty is not optional. It's survival. And if you've ever been betrayed, if you've ever felt like you were the last one to find out that your life was fiction, this podcast was for you. Because you weren't crazy. You were just being lied to. I ended the episode there. No outro. No links. No next time. Just truth, left on the table like a half-finished drink at the end of a long night. I stepped out of the booth. Locked it. Packed my things. Just a laptop, a mic, a pair of headphones that still carried the ghosts of their voices. And I walked out. No one stopped me. No one chased me. No dramatic final confrontation in the rain. Just the cold air of a city that finally felt mine again. Claire was probably watching the numbers drop. Jared was probably planning his next grift. The internet had moved on to a new scandal. But me? I wasn't behind the curtain anymore. I wasn't just the editor. I was the author now. Of the silence. Of the final word. Of the story they tried to spin. Until I pressed play on the truth.